Welcome to my podcast, Dying in La La Land, and this is Ron Campise. This episode is Milk and the Blood of Innocence. Reggie, at 9 years old, was Grandma's favorite. He was helpful, kind, and understanding way beyond his age, what you would call an old soul. His mother had died of cancer when he was 7, leaving the task of Grandma to raise Reggie and 2 younger siblings. Theirs was a modest South Central home in La La Land, and they were by no means rich. Grandma and the Lord would provide, she would often say, and Reggie believed with his whole heart that it would be so. Tragic circumstances would prove otherwise that warm summer night in La La Land. Earlier that evening and into the start of my watch at 12 midnight, there had been a high-profile kidnapping of some Bel Air gazillionaire's child. The LAPD had put a tremendous resource into solving the crime, and it turned out that the child was kidnapped by a distant, jealous relative. Half of the detectives from South Bureau had been assigned to the case and were no longer available for their own bureau for serious crimes. There was no overtime available due to the resources spent on the kidnap case. Reggie, we need some milk for cereal tomorrow morning. Go down to Sam's Market and pick up a gallon. Here's a 5 and I expect some change, Grandma said to Reggie. He replied, "Okay, Grandma, I'll go before it closes." Reggie headed out to Sam's Market at about 10:30 p.m. His small, 9-year-old frame moved rapidly through the streets to the small market of Figueroa. He bought the milk and even said thank you to Mr. Kim, the owner of Sam's, as he left. Mr. Kim always liked Reggie, expecting him to go far in life. 2 gangbangers were hanging out on the sidewalk at the market, smoking sherms, cocaine-soaked cigarettes, and just talking. Reggie was in the wrong place at the wrong time as a dark car drove by slowly and lit up the gangbangers with AK-47 fire. The gang members near the wall ducked and shot back with pistols, and Reggie, carrying milk, was caught in the crossfire. He instinctively held the milk bottle to the front and began to sprint. An AK-47 round pierced the milk bottle and entered into Reggie's torso. His back slumped against the wall of Sam's Market, and he slowly sat down. The blood from his body filled the plastic bottle of milk, turning it light crimson, and it began to leak out onto the sidewalk. 9-year-old Reggie momentarily looked up at the star-filled sky one last time. How beautiful, he thought, as the gun battle blazed around him, and his lifeblood drained from his small body, and said his last words out loud. Grandma's gonna be pissed. Reggie's head then tilted slightly upwards as it leaned into the back of Sam's Market, holding tight the gallon of milk, and he left this world. I arrived at the scene shortly after 12:40 a.m. I didn't expect much for just another street shooting on the south side of La La Land. All I knew that there was a body at the scene. What shocked me at first was the sparseness of police personnel. 1 patrol car with 2 officers guarding the perimeter, 1 South Bureau homicide detective investigating, and of course, a small murder victim's body, now covered in a sheet, with his back propped up against the wall of Sam's Market. This was, of course, due to the citywide tactical emergency declared for the kidnapped child of the gazillionaires that had taken most of the patrol officers and investigative resources from South Bureau. One of my favorite detectives was there, one of the only females at the time in South Bureau's homicide unit. Detective 2, Sammy Buckingham. She was quiet, sharp, beautiful, and confident, and knew exactly what she wanted done when covering a crime scene. However, after 6 years on the job, she was never once considered for promotion. We finished processing the scene quickly, leaving the AK-47 rounds embedded in the wall to be retrieved the next day by criminalists. Remember, it was only me and Detective Sammy doing the investigation. Detective Sammy then removed the sheet from the body. A small, male juvenile child was sitting against the wall, his eyes in a half-open glaze, with a slight smile on his face. His head was tilted upward, as if looking at the night sky. His arms were firmly holding a quarter-empty gallon of milk. The now crimson contents spilled onto the sidewalk, along with the blood running down his back. The AK-47 round fired by the gangbangers had pierced the milk container, entered Reggie's small body, then exploded out his back into the wall of the market. Even Detective Sammy was shocked by the scene. She paused for a long moment, took an extra deep breath, and then began looking over the body. I was busy documenting the scene and remembered being upset and slightly angry by the insanities of Reggie's murder. I just concentrated on the task at hand and was more determined than ever to do the best job I could to help bring the perpetrator to justice. We later learned that Reggie was just 9 years old. The coroner arrived and field processed the body, removing the milk containers from Reggie's two-handed grip, and then carefully wrapped him in a sheet with some towels to sop up the oozing blood. The coroner, a rather large fellow, wrapped Reggie's small body in a kind of memorial shroud, for Reggie's grandmother was now in the crowd that had gathered. The coroner found out, then motioned to patrol officers to let Reggie's grandmother under the tape to say one last goodbye. He then carefully lifted Reggie's small body into his arms and carried him to the waiting coroner's transport van, gingerly placing him inside on a gurney, as carefully as if it was his own child. The murder scene was vacated quickly to the lack of police presence, and there was a palpable, clear and present danger that at any time the shooters could return. At nearly the same moment, the gazillionaire's kidnapped child was recovered from a distant relative's car after a short pursuit on the Santa Monica freeway. For me, it was just another evening's murder investigation of a 9-year-old child named Reggie in La La Land. That evening, in my memory, it was like the opening of a modern version of A Tale of Two Cities, from another time, in the City of Angels, Los Angeles. To paraphrase a great writer from the past, this is the best of worlds. This is the worst of worlds. This is the season of sages. This is the season of fools. This is the moment of faith. This is the moment of doubt. This is the time of goodness. This is the time of evil. This is the spring of hope. This is the winter of despair. We have everything. We have nothing. We are going to heaven. We are going to hell. That concludes Milk and the Blood of Innocence. Thank you for listening to my Dying in La La Land podcast. Hit the follow button. We would love your feedback. And tell your friends.